This is Trade Alive with IUX, where markets come alive and trading gets real. Let's go live.
This podcast is brought to you by IUX Trading Platform, elevating your trading experience.
Imagine standing in front of a mirror and looking at a stack of cash worth $30,000. It's a respectable amount. It's a year's salary for many people. It's a new car. Now, close your eyes. Imagine that same stack of cash multiplying again and again and again until it transforms into a mountain of money worth $80 million. This isn't a fantasy. This isn't a lottery. And this isn't a scam. This is the verified historical track record of one man trading in the financial markets over a period of less than 20 years. That is a return on investment of over 2,500 times. In the world of trading, there are stars, and then there are wizards. Today's story is about a true wizard. He didn't start as a billionaire heir. He didn't start with inside information. He started as a regular guy. In fact, a guy who was struggling, sitting in front of a screen trying to figure out which way the line would go. His name is Michael Marcus. He became the crown jewel of the legendary trading firm Commodities Corporation. He was the man who hired and mentored Bruce Kovner. Basically, if Bruce Kovner is the Jedi Knight of trading, Michael Marcus is Master Yoda. But the most compelling part of his story isn't the $80 million. It is the darkness he had to walk through to get there. Before he became a legend, Michael Marcus was a disaster. He didn't just lose money. He lost everything. He lost his own life savings. He lost the hard-earned savings of his widowed mother. He broke every rule. He bought at the very top. He panicked and sold at the very bottom. He was the textbook definition of a failed trader. So the critical question we must answer today is this: how does a man recover from total ruin? How does someone with zero market knowledge transform himself into one of the most disciplined, intuitive, and successful traders of the 20th century? Welcome to Trader's Journey, a part of Trade Alive, brought to you by IUX Education. Today, we are going deep into the mind of the intuitive trader. If you want to understand the path from hitting rock bottom to building a financial empire, let's begin the journey. To truly understand Michael Marcus, we have to strip away the legend and look at the man. Who was he before the millions? Born in the 1940s, Michael was what you would call an academic elite. He was brilliant. We are talking about a man who graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Johns Hopkins University, class of 1969. For those who don't know, Phi Beta Kappa is the highest academic honor in the United States. His path was set in stone. He was supposed to be a professor, a scholar. He went on to pursue a doctorate in psychology at Clark University. But beneath the surface of this perfect resume, there was a problem. Michael Marcus was bored out of his mind. He looked at the life of his professors, the tenure, the politics, the slow pace, and he felt trapped. He was a young man with a racing mind, desperate for excitement, desperate for a challenge that could offer him real freedom. It was during this moment of existential crisis that he met a friend named John. We all have a John in our lives, don't we? John was the charismatic friend who always had a plan, a shortcut. One day, John looked at Marcus and said the sentence that would ruin his life. "Michael, why are we wasting time studying? I know a way to double our money every 2 weeks." Now, a rational PhD student should have laughed, but Michael, desperate to escape his boring life, leaned in and asked, "How?" John introduced him to the world of commodities futures. Let's walk through his first trade because it is a masterclass in what not to do. John convinced Marcus to trade corn. Why corn? Did they analyze the charts? No. Did they study the rainfall in the Midwest? No. They traded based on a story, a rumor. The rumor was that a blight, a disease carried by locusts, was destroying the cornfields across America. The logic seemed bulletproof. If locusts eat the corn, the supply disappears. When supply disappears, prices must skyrocket. Marcus was sold. He took his life savings, about $500 to $1,000, which was a lot for a student back then, and he went all in on corn futures. He sat back, dreaming of the profits. But the market is a cruel teacher. The price didn't go up. It collapsed. Confused and panicking, Marcus finally did what he should have done in the beginning. He researched, and he discovered a painful, humiliating truth. Yes, the locusts were eating the corn. The rumor was technically true. But the locusts were eating the hybrid seed corn, the parent plants used for next year's planting. Because he didn't understand the nuances of the industry, the market punished him instantly. He lost everything. But this is where the story gets tragic. Failure has a strange way of hooking intelligent people. They refuse to believe they are wrong. They think, I just got unlucky. Marcus wanted revenge on the market. He went to his mother. His mother was a widow. She wasn't rich. She lived on a modest income. He looked her in the eyes and convinced her that he had learned his lesson. He begged for another chance. Out of love for her son, she gave him her savings. And what did he do? He followed John's advice again. He traded wheat. He lost. He traded soybean meal. He lost. Within a short period, he had wiped out his own money and his mother's. Imagine the guilt. Imagine the shame of having to tell your mother that her security is gone because you gambled it away. He was at rock bottom. He realized that intelligence in the classroom does not translate to success in the markets. So he made a humble decision. He dropped out of his PhD program. He walked away from academia, and he took an entry-level job as a research analyst at a brokerage firm called Reynolds Securities. He chose this path not for the money, the pay was terrible, but for the education. He vowed to learn how the markets really worked so he could earn back every cent he lost. Within a short period, he had wiped out his own money and his mother's. Let's pause here and imagine that moment. This wasn't just a number on a screen. This was a family tragedy. Marcus recalls the moment he had to tell his mother. She was a widow. She had worked hard for every dollar. He had to look her in the eyes and say, "Mom, I lost it. I lost it all." He expected her to scream. He expected her to disown him. Instead, she looked at him with sadness and simply asked, "What are you going to do now?" That question haunted him. The guilt didn't break him. It fueled him. He vowed to himself right there, "I will earn it back. I don't care how long it takes. I will pay her back every cent with interest." This is why he didn't quit. He wasn't trading for a Lamborghini. He was trading for redemption. So he swallowed his pride, dropped out of his PhD, and took that low-paying analyst job. He was on a mission. Working as an analyst was his boot camp. He learned to read charts, he learned to write reports, and slowly he saved up enough money to trade again. But his real transformation didn't happen at Reynolds Securities. It happened when he was recruited to join a new, mysterious firm called Commodities Corporation. I need to paint a picture of this place for you. In the 1970s, Commodities Corporation wasn't just an office. It was the animal house of trading. It was a place filled with eccentric geniuses, mathematicians, and gamblers. It was the Harvard and the Marine Corps of trading rolled into one. If you survived there, you could survive anywhere. And it was in the hallways of this firm that Marcus met the man who would become his mentor, a man named Ed Seykota. Ed Seykota is a legend in his own right. He was one of the very first people in history to use mainframe computers, giant machines with punch cards, to test trading systems. Marcus was fascinated. While Marcus had been trading based on anxiety, rumors, and gut feelings, Sekota was calm. He was cold. He was calculated. Marcus would sit next to him and watch him work. He saw that Sekota ignored the newspapers. He ignored the gossip on the floor. Sekota only cared about one thing: the price trend. Sekota taught Marcus two golden rules that would save his life. Rule number 1, the trend is your friend. Never fight the momentum. If the market is going up, you buy. If it's going down, you sell. Period. Rule number 2, cut your losses quickly. When the trade goes against you, get out. Don't pray, don't hope, just leave. For Marcus, this was a revelation. It provided the structure he desperately needed. But as time went on, Marcus realized a flaw, not in the system, but in himself. He tried to trade exactly like Sekota, waiting for computer signals, but he failed. Why? Because Marcus was not a machine. He was an emotional human being. Sekota could wait weeks for a signal. Marcus was impatient. He needed to be involved. He needed to feel the pulse of the market. This frustration led to his greatest breakthrough. He realized, I cannot be Ed Seykota. I have to be Michael Marcus. He decided to create a hybrid style. He would use Sekota's logic, trend following, and risk management, but he would combine it with his own unique superpower, intuition. He started to notice that the market had a personality. Sometimes the chart looked bullish, but the price action felt tired or heavy. Other times, terrible news would come out, but the price refused to fall. He called this market tone. He realized that by listening to this tone, he could enter trades before the computer signals and exit before the crash. This fusion of system and intuition was the birth of Michael Marcus we know today. Armed with his new philosophy, Marcus was ready to prove himself, and in 1972 he found the perfect opportunity, the plywood or lumber market. Let's set the scene. The U.S. government, trying to fight inflation, had put price controls on lumber. This meant there was a legal limit on how high the price could go. Analysts said, don't buy lumber, it can't go up, the government won't let it. But Marcus looked at the futures market and saw something strange. The price of plywood futures was trading higher than the government ceiling. Most traders were scared. They thought the government would step in and crush the market. But Marcus's intuition told him the shortage is real. The market is screaming for wood. Supply and demand is stronger than the government. He started with a tiny account, just $700. He bought one contract. And he was right. The price exploded, bypassing the government rules completely. But here is where the magic happened. In his old days, he would have taken a $500 profit and run away to buy dinner. But this time, he used a strategy called pyramiding. Let me explain pyramiding because this is the secret to his wealth. Imagine he buys at $100. The price goes to $110. He has a profit. Instead of cashing out, he uses that paper profit as collateral to buy another contract at $110. When the price goes to $120, he makes money on the first contract and the second contract. It creates a snowball effect. Within a few months, his $700 turned into $12,000. He learned that you don't get rich by trading in and out. You get rich by finding a massive wave and riding it with a pyramid of positions. But the trade that truly defined his genius and proved his theory of market tone happened a few years later in the currency market. This is the story of the German mark trade. It was a morning of chaos. A massive news report came out that was incredibly negative for Germany. Every analyst predicted the German mark would crash. The market sentiment was 100% bearish. Panic was in the air. Marcus sat at his desk staring at the price ticker. The news hit the wires. The price dipped, maybe 10 points, and then it stopped. It stood there, like a rock. More bad news came out. The price didn't budge. Think about that. If someone punches you in the face, you should fall down. If you get punched and you don't even blink, that means you are incredibly strong. Marcus's intuition screamed at him. He realized if bad news cannot knock the market down, then the market wants to go up. While the rest of the world was selling, Marcus picked up the phone. He shouted to the floor traders, buy German marks. He went aggressive. Minutes later, the price ripped upwards. It turned out to be the absolute bottom of a massive bull run. He didn't use a computer. He didn't use insider info. He listened to the market tone. He trusted the price action more than he trusted the news. But if you want to know the true power of Michael Marcus, we have to talk about the night of December 1970. This is one of the most famous stories in trading. It was the era of the gold rush. Marcus was holding a massive position in gold. The market was extremely volatile. Politics were tense. One night, Marcus was sitting in his office in California. It was late. The U.S. markets were closed. Suddenly, a news flash came across the wire. The Soviet Union has invaded Afghanistan. This was huge. This was World War III potential. In times of war, people panic and buy gold. Gold is the ultimate safe haven. Marcus knew that when the Hong Kong market opened in a few hours, gold would explode. But there was a problem. He couldn't find anyone to trade with. The U.S. banks were closed. London was asleep. He was sitting on a winning lottery ticket, but he couldn't cash in. He stayed awake all night, phone in hand, sweating, waiting for the Asian markets to open. The tension was unbearable. Finally, Hong Kong opened. The price of gold didn't just go up, it gapped up, it flew. Marcus watched as his net worth jumped by millions of dollars in a matter of minutes. He managed to sell into the panic buying, locking in a fortune. This story illustrates his obsession. A normal person would have been sleeping. Marcus was awake. He was ready. He caught the wave because he was the only one watching the ocean in the middle of the night. After making millions, Michael Marcus crystallized his experience into a philosophy that is simple yet profound. He often compared trading to surfing. He said, "You don't create the wave. The ocean creates the wave. Your job is just to wait, paddle at the right time, and ride it." This mindset kept him humble. He knew he wasn't the master of the market. He was just a passenger. The best way to understand his philosophy is to look at how he taught others. Remember Bruce Kovner from our last episode? Well, Michael Marcus was the man who discovered him. One day at Commodities Corporation, Marcus walked past Kovner's desk. Kovner was looking pale. He was stressed. He was losing money on a trade and didn't know what to do. Marcus didn't tell him to check the RSI or the moving average. He put a hand on Kovner's shoulder and asked a simple question. "Can you hold this position and still go home and have a nice dinner?" Kovner shook his head. "No." Marcus said, "Then get out. Sell it. Go home. Reset." This moment defines Marcus's style. He taught that psychological capital is more important than financial capital. If your mind is broken, your account will follow. He also gave us the ultimate rule for risk management, famously known as the sleeping point. Marcus didn't believe in complex mathematical formulas for risk. He simply asked, "How do you feel?" He advised traders, if you are in a position and you can't sleep at night, it means your position is too big. It doesn't matter what the charts say. If you are waking up at 3 a.m. sweating, you are gambling, not trading. The solution? Sell down to the sleeping point. Reduce your size until you can close your eyes and rest peacefully. But we must also be honest about the cost of this success. We talk about the glory and the $80 million, but we rarely talk about the price he paid. To achieve this level of intuition, Michael Marcus paid a heavy psychological price. Colleagues described him as obsessed. In the days before the internet and smartphones, staying connected was hard. Marcus went to the extreme. He had trading screens and quote machines installed in every room of his house. Yes, even in his bedroom. He would wake up every 2 hours to check the prices in Hong Kong, London, and New York. He lived and breathed the markets 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. His intuition wasn't magic. It was the result of extreme immersion. He recognized the market tone because he spent more time listening to the market than he did listening to his friends or family. Finally, let's summarize his secret formula for high-probability trading. Marcus developed a framework called the 3 pillars. He taught that you should only bet big when 3 things align perfectly. Fundamentals, the economic story implies a shortage or imbalance. Technicals, the chart shows a clear trend in your direction. Market tone, the market is acting resiliently against opposing news. When these 3 pillars stand together, that is when Michael Marcus strikes. In conclusion, the story of Michael Marcus is more than just a financial success story. It is a story of redemption. It proves one powerful truth. Failure is not the end. It is part of the tuition. Marcus started with 0 knowledge. He lost his own money. He lost his mother's money. He was humiliated. Most people would have quit. Most people would have said, "I'm not smart enough." But Marcus didn't quit. He adjusted. He found a mentor. He learned discipline from Sekota. He mastered his own intuition, and he transformed a $30,000 account into an $80 million legacy. So the next time you take a loss, the next time you feel discouraged or feel like you made a stupid mistake, remember Michael Marcus. Remember that even the greatest wizards started as beginners who broke the rules. The only difference is they learned to sleep well at night and they woke up to fight another day. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into trading history. If you found value in this story, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode of Trader's Journey, brought to you by Trade Alive and IUX Education. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Trade Alive with IUX. Ready to put these insights into action? IUX is here to power your next winning trade.